Hello aspirants, welcome to PW OnlyIAS. I guess you are all doing really very well. Let us continue with the daily analysis of the Hindu from 26th of December 2025. Let's see what all is in store for you. Please remember one thing, that this is the QR code where you can basically find the particular PDF along with other material that is required for your preparation. So what all topics you have taken for today's analysis? First of all, disaster management bill, and there are certain issues regarding that. Then we have the Ken-betwa link project, then free movement regime, then Australia Online Amendment Bill 2024 that basically restricts the access to the social media for all the children below the 16 years of age. Now we have GCC, then we have the Svamitva scheme, which recently Honorable Prime Minister was talking about. So we'll be discussing that also. Let's begin. Main topics. Lapses in the disaster management bill. Now, please understand this marks a day also of the tsunami disaster that took place in 2024. So it is 20 years have been completed, and it marks a day when hundreds and thousands of people basically died because of that, not only in India, across the world. So with respect to that, this topic also becomes important. Is please understand, when this topic is mentioned over here, the writer basically starts mentioning with the 1, 2, 3, 4, what are the lapses in the new bill that is there with respect to the disaster management. Now, as aspirants who are preparing for civil services, please remember that, because this is, I think, the second or the third time that this has come in the newspaper also with respect to the disaster management bill. And before we analyze what are the problems that are associated, we need to have a brief overview also of what is that particular bill and what changes it is making to the present act that is present there. Okay, now let's see that. See, this is just to show you that bill number 98 of 2024, this was basically the first page. We're not going to read the official document, otherwise it becomes very hefty for the students to study for the civil services. But overall, this is the bill, Disaster Management Amendment Bill 2024. Now see, let us see what are the aspects. Wherever I mention act, it is with respect to the act that is present right now. And wherever I mention the word bill, it means the amendment that is being proposed under the bill. Like for example, if you see over here, it's written the bill. And over here, it is present the act. That means the present act of Disaster Management Act, what it says. See, the present act provides for the constitution of the National Executive Committee and the State Executive Committee to assist the National Disaster Management Authority and the State Disaster Management Authority in performing their functions. So, along with the creation of the NDMA and SDMA, there is a provision for constitution of the National Executive Committee and a State Executive Committee in every state, right? Now, what happens? The key function of the committees is preparing the national and the state disaster management plans respectively. Center with overall, state, every state is going to create its own plan. Now, what it does is the NDMA and SDMA approve the respective plans and coordinate their implementation. But what has been done? The bill amends it, and it says that it provides that straight away the NDMA and SDMA will prepare the disaster management plans. So straight away, instead of having that hierarchical structure, straight away the NDMA and SDMA say you only yourself prepare the management bill. So there is removal of red tapeism and hierarchical structure. This is one aspect. Functions of SDMA and NDMA. See, under the Act, we realize there are a lot of functions for that are given by to NDMA and SDMA in the respectively. For example, reviewing the disaster management plans of the government, setting guidelines and all. Now, the bill adds certain functions like taking periodic stock of disaster risk from the extreme climatic events. Second, providing technical assistance to authorities, recommending guidelines for minimum standards of relief. These are the things that have been mentioned. Now, along with it, the type and severity of disaster, allocation of funds and expenditure, disaster preparedness and mitigation. All these things, that means certain additional functions have been added under this particular bill or with this bill, or to the already existing functions that were present there. Now, if we move ahead, we will be realizing that the bill also, see, the bill, that means the present bill of 2024, also empowers the National Disaster Management Authority to make regulations under the Act with prior approval of the central government. This is one thing that has been mentioned in the bill. Now, there is some new concept that has come up, that is urban disaster management authorities. Now, this is to be created. The bill creates this authority. The bill empowers the state government to constitute a separate urban disaster management authority for state capitals and cities with municipal corporation. Now, wherever there's a municipal corporation or that is a city, that means you're going to have a urban disaster management authority. Now, the urban authority will comprise a municipal commissioner as a chairperson, district collector as a vice chairperson, and other members specified by the state government. Now, these will prepare and implement the disaster management plans with respect to those specific urban regions. Formation of State Disaster Response Force. Please understand, the Act provides for constitution of a National Disaster Response Force for specialist response to the disaster situations. The bill empowers the state government to constitute a disaster response force. The state government will define the functions of SDRF and prescribe the terms and conditions. So this, with respect to what the functions would be, what would be the terms and condition, that has been delegated to the states. So you decide what is better and what is best according to your state. So this power has been delegated to the states under this particular bill. Now, when I go statutory status to the existing committees, the bill provides statutory status to the existing committees. That means National Crisis Management Committee, NCMC, and High Level Committee, HLC. These have been given statutory status, which earlier they did not have. Now, see, the NCMC will function as a nodal body for dealing with the major disasters with national consequences or ramifications. So that in any national level disaster that takes place, let us say tsunami was again one of those, or let us say COVID, for that matter, again it is a national level disaster. So in that case, it is the NCMC which will function as a nodal body. When I talk about HLC, that is High Level Committee, it provides for the financial assistance to the state government during the disasters that take place. This is something that has been given a statutory status under the bill, which earlier wasn't there. Next thing is appointment to the MDMS. The Act provides that central government will provide that NDMA with officers, consultant, and employees. So earlier what happened, the Act says that the central government will provide certain officers to the National Disaster Management Authority. But now, instead, it empowers the NDM to specify the number of category of officers. Along with it, NDMA may also appoint experts and consultants whenever it feels necessary is required. That means there is empowerment with respect to appointment of certain officers to its office also. So that is good. Now, please understand, when we studied, this is important from the perspective of the civil services, that you should know what are the provisions. Major provisions. There might be very minute details also that are there. You don't have to go with respect to the civil services preparation because you are not preparing for a law examination. But when I talk about the problems that are there, these are the problems that have been highlighted in the editorial that you read. What is the first thing? First thing is top-down approach. Even now, we realize that it is the top-down approach. That means the management plans are being prepared at the top and then they have been delegated to the, let us say, the smaller level, let us say the state level or the district level also. So there is a top-down approach rather than it should be a bottom-up approach. So that is why one of the problems that have been highlighted in the editorial. Next is definitions like hazard, vulnerability, disaster are very mechanical. They are not very clear. Now, because we need to understand that these definitions, when not very clear also, that tends to create a problem whether what the definition is trying to convey. And there are a lot of interpretations also with respect to the disaster. Sometimes some might be seeing disaster from the perspective of, let us say, human life. Some might be seeing no, human life is not lost, that monetary loss is there. Sometimes we would be saying that, okay, it has led to some cultural loss. So it is when you see the definitions, you'll be realizing they're not comprehensive in nature, they're robotic in nature. That is why it has been seen as a mechanical nature. That means we need to refine these definitions also, but which the bill does not provide as such. Next is ignores the intersectional discrimination. Over here, please understand, when you're providing the provision, when you're revamping a particular act, Disaster Management Act, so you realize that you should be including the dimension of discrimination that people are facing, especially, let us say, the women are more vulnerable to sexual exploitation, rape, and other problems during the disaster that take place. Even the problems with respect to the transgender communities, they're the ones who are more vulnerable during the disasters. So there is no such provision being mentioned in the disaster management bill over here. That is what raises the questions also, that at least you should have included that. Next is nothing there related to performance evaluation of the district authorities. Now, please understand, when I'm talking about district authorities, we are focusing on the aspect that the district authorities are going to deal with the dimensions of district level plans, and along will be the coordinating as nodal officer, the district collector magistrate as a nodal officer for the district level, any disaster that takes place. But there is no provision for a performance evaluation or an audit with respect to the performance of the district authorities. Why district authorities becomes important is because, see, they are the ones who are actually implementing those programs at the minute or the grassroots level. If you do not evaluate what the preparedness is, what the performance have been, what are the appraisal that is required with respect to the whatever plan they have prepared, it will be of no use. At the ground level, again, the failures are going to be there. So this thing, auditing mechanism should have been incorporated over here, which is missing in the bill. Next, animal related deaths and issues are not mentioned. Again, we realize that large number of animal and human conflicts arising, animal related deaths arising. We have no provision with respect to in the previous act also, and even the bill of 2024, we have no mention of that. And that is very disheartening also, that because of the disaster, that it is the animals also that are suffering very badly. If not that, at least we should have a ecosystem approach where at least the flora and fauna and the disaster taking place to that should also be evaluated in a proper mechanism. And we realize that the problem is that urbanization is a process also leading to a disaster to their ecosystem. Isn't that being mentioned over here? No, because that is considered or perceived simply as development. That is what the problem over here arises, that you should be considering those aspects also. Next is Urban Disaster Management Authority. Now see, this is what is a typical example of putting one body over another, one body over another. We already have a SDMA, State Disaster Management Authority. At the district level, the district magistrates are the one who are basically heading the district authorities for handling any disaster that take place. Now you are creating another urban disaster management authority. Do you realize that that will lead to further overlap of the functioning, and overall what will happen? Nothing will happen. Body will be created. The same officers who had to be in the SDMA also are there. Again, they are meeting here with respect to creation of this body. Now, this is what is known as that just because the urban issues or urban disasters are rising, we understand that it is important that we analyze those issues, but what that can only be also be done at the SDMA level or the district authority level. You again have to create new bodies. What will happen? Then red tapeism, delay, because this body will again, let us say, prepares a plan, will go to SDMA. Now, for that matter, if urban disaster management authority is created, then again it will go to the district level also, because though district magistrate is a vice chairman of this body, still it will go to his office also. Then it will go to the SDMA also. Again, red tapeism is there. So the problem should be, we should reduce the hierarchies and the number of bodies that we raise, so that a proper mechanism and implementation is what is focused on. So these are the problems that were being highlighted in this particular bill. Let's move ahead. 45,000 crore, close to 45,000 crore, Ken-betwa link project was launched. Topic 2, very important. We know that it got approval up before in December 2021 only, at a total cost of 44,605, which is known as 45,000 crores. Now, this is one of the part for the river interlinkage projects. Very important. Over here, we realize that in this Ken-betwa link project, the national and the Madhya Pradesh government link the Ken River with the Betwa River so that the latter can receive the water in the Bundelkhand region. So this is again a very, very important dimension over here. Latter means Betwa, so that the latter can receive water. Clear? So that there is, wherever there is excess of water and the one which is having less of water, you can transfer some water. But again, that requires cooperation between the states, cooperation with the central government, and then things can happen. So what is the Ken link, Betwa link project? It is a project located in the Bundelkhand, a drought-prone region across 13 districts of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. Now, Ken-betwa link is the first project under the National Perspective Plan for interlinking of the rivers. Now, Ken-betwa link project aims to transfer water from Ken River to Betwa. This should be remembered very carefully. From Ken to Betwa, because in UPSC can ask you that what is being transferred from Betwa to Ken. You might get confused, right? It is from Ken to Betwa, both tributaries of the Yamuna River. Now see, Ken-betwa link project, it is basically divided into phases. First phase, focus on completing the Dhodhan Dam complex, including related the structures like tunnel, link canal, and powerhouses. So these are certain things that are going to be done in the phase 1. Then phase 2 involves constructing lower Or Dam, Dina complex, and 𝐂𝐇HA barrage. So we realize that these are the two phases in which it is going to be implemented, because it is very difficult to implement in one phase. They're very massive projects. Expected benefits, see, annual irrigation potential of 10.62 lakh hectares. Again, because of this linking, because the water will be transferred to the 𝐑𝐄𝐻 region. Again, Bundelkhand region is again one which is drought prone. So if that gets water, we realize that there's a possibility of irrigation and let us say increase in the agriculture output also and productivity. Drinking water supply of approximately 62 lakh people. Again, it is a drought prone region, so there's a lot of scarcity of water. Already United Nations has declared that India would be a drought prone country by 2025. So it is very important that we basically work on this. Hydropower generation capacity of 103 megawatt. This is again will be sufficient for the regions where the water is being supplied. Along with it, because it is primarily rural right now, so at least a push will be given for, let us say, electrification also, rise or overall regional development of the region also. So these are the benefits that we basically see. Now, if we see over here, just have a look. Now, this is basically what the 𝐑𝐵etwa river. See here. This is the 𝐵etwa river. Clear? This is the 𝐾𝐻 river. Now, from here, the link is going, just see, and water is being transferred over here, right? Yeah. So this is again something that you should be knowing a little bit, right? Okay. What are the challenges? See, there are a lot of challenges. Legal approval question. First, the approval by the Standing Committee of the National Board of Wildlife for the Ken-betwa link project is questioned, arguing that there hasn't been proven necessary that wildlife improvement and management required by Section 35C of the Wildlife Protection Act. So now please understand, National Board for Wildlife is again very particular with respect to conservation and protection of the wildlife also. Now, when you have to link certain projects, or let us say any development project, or for that matter, when you're talking about the issue of water linking, it requires massive infrastructure being created, but along with it, a lot of deforestation will be taking place in those regions. Along with it, it will be disturbing the natural ecosystem that is existing there. Now, that is going to impact the wildlife also. But when the approval was given, it was questioned, how could the approval being given also, in spite of such massive changes in the ecosystem or ecology of the region, is going to take place? So that is again been questioned, and again people have filed PIL in the courts also, that how the approval has been given. Now, these cases are also going on, so that again creates a legal challenge. Possibly, if the courts also further, let us say, further petitions that are filed that lead to, let us say, stopping of these projects, then again it will lead to a lot of legal tangle. Ultra vires approach. The Central Empowered Committee of the Supreme Court has deemed wildlife approval granted by this as ultra vires, suggesting that it is exceeded legal authority. This is what is important. The Central Empowered Committee of the Supreme Court has said ultra vires means something that is not in the capacity of a particular body, and it has given a judgment or an order which is not under its jurisdiction. So that means ultra vires approval. That means something that was not under its gamut. So how could have it's given the approval? Then ecological and wildlife impact. We know that proposed dam potential is going to destroy a lot of ecology and habitat, particularly the Panna Tiger Reserve and the downstream Ken Gharial Sanctuary. These are the ones which are going to be very badly or adversely impacted by this project. Now, again, we realize that there is still issues that it might lead to certain questions coming up. Supreme Court also might again say that whether it should go ahead or not. Again, a lot of legal tangles are still in there. So let's see how it goes. If any judgment comes, we will be again discussing that. What are the advantages of interlinking of rivers? Please see hydrological balance. These are first advantage. Interlinking of rivers can address India's hydrological imbalance. That means transferring water from the flood-prone region to the drought-prone region. So what happens is that the region where a lot of flood is there due to excessive water, that can be transferred to the region where water is deficit. That will balance the hydrological balance should be maintained. Next is enhanced inland navigation. Now, please realize that inland waterways or inland navigation is again one of the very cheaper means of navigation. Now, after this, we can realize that very easy another alternative mode of transport through the inland waterway irrigation or inland waterway navigation will also be created, which will again reduce the time for travel. It will also lead to a very sustainable means where pollution creation is minimal. Along with it, transfer of goods can also be done in a very easy manner at a very cheap price. the logistics cost will decrease. Next is irrigation benefits, as we are all discussed, large irrigation potential, power generation, and other benefits like we realize that substantial benefit in resolving the drinking water scarcity, 90 billion cubic meter, providing 6.8 billion cubic meter, and especially during the drought-prone regions, or let us say when there's scarcity of water. So that is again one of the major benefits. Let's move ahead. Central to set formally scrap FMR with Myanmar. Now, please understand there's a concept known as free movement regime. This becomes important because when you're dealing with the Myanmar relations, FMR is important because as it is, we realize that when we are talking about Manipur crisis that are taking place, we realize that the Nagas currently siding with the Kukis has also got to do with certain international bodies of the Nagas which are in Myanmar also impacting the internal politics. That is why please remember, Myanmar and India's relations, though being, let us say, historically and culturally related, have always been very questioned in the sense that it has been a source of a lot of insurgent movements that are there. And that is why we realize this concept of FMR becomes very important for today's discussion also. So let's see. Indo-Myanmar border between India and Myanmar is of 1643 kilometers in the 4 states of Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, and Arunachal Pradesh. Now, it is an open border that runs through the forested and undulating terrain. It is almost entirely unfenced and is difficult to monitor. In Manipur, less than 6 kilometers of border is fenced because the region is so densely forested. The terrain is so difficult that it becomes almost impossible to fence it. Now comes the concept of what is free movement regime on the India-Myanmar border. Please see. We very well know that Myanmar and northeastern region, if you see, it is a tribal dominated region. Now the tribals are not, they are not confined to the political boundaries. So they are linked to each other through their ethnicities, along with their racial characteristics and their historical and cultural correlation and the history that binds them. So what is there now in that perspective, what becomes important is the aspect of free movement regime. Now see, a free movement regime is a mutually agreed arrangement between the two countries that allows tribes living along the border on either side to travel up to 16 kilometers inside the other country without a visa. That means that this is a border, let us say, this is Myanmar, this is India. The tribes from this region can go up to 16 kilometers here, and Indian tribes can go up to 16 kilometers here inside without any visa requirement. Implementation, it was implemented in 2018 as a part of the Government Act East policy. Now, what happened because of this is, see, this was done as a means to improve, or let us say, the cultural relations, and we know that India and Myanmar are bound by the cultural ties, majorly through the tribal relation or the commonality of the tribes that are present. Naga tribe are present here also, there also. For that matter, the other tribes also. Manipuri tribes are present here also, there also. So cultural commonalities are there, and because of that, this was done. But what happened is because of this, it provided a means through which the insurgents, or in alternatively what we say, the terrorist activities started taking place and many started infiltrating in India. Now, this created a lot of problem and is creating a very big law and order situation in India, particularly in the northeastern region. So, having understood this, what becomes important is, see, what is the future of free movement regime? Balancing security and the local needs. Experts doubt its effectiveness without proper border security and enforcement. They suggest regulating the FMR rather than completely removal of fencing of the entire border. Now, these are views. You cannot completely fence it. Also, it is very difficult because of the terrain and the forested regions. Along with it, if you say completely stopping FMR, that is again a problematic situation because how will you monitor it also? So again, a balanced approach has to be there. Manipur's suspension of FMR since 2022 hasn't significantly altered the situation. Alternative to FMR, improved border management, intelligence gathering, and addressing the root cause of migration in Myanmar are crucial. Bilateral cooperation with Myanmar is essential for tackling the security challenges in the northeastern region. Now, let us have a basic historical aspect and study this. Free movement regime, rational, and what are the benefits for that? Please understand. Historical divide. British demarcated the border between India and Myanmar in 1826 Without seeking the people's opinion in the region, the border effectively divided the people of the same ethnicity and culture into two nations without their consent. It's very similar to what happened in Africa also, where the various colonists came, they just they drew straight lines and divided them into countries. When the border demarcation was took place by British, they basically demarcated it in 1826 without asking or taking the people or the tribals into consensus. If they are, let us say, this is a region where a common tribe is staying, but Britishers, let us say, demarcated. Now the people of the same ethnicity are there. You are dividing them. So what happens? That will lead to further problems also in the future. This is something also happened with the Radcliffe Boundary Commission also when it divided India into Pakistan. Large number of people's relatives were in Pakistan, some in India. So that created a lot of havoc. Facilitating cultural and economic ties, FMR allows border communities to maintain a relationship and engage in cross-border trade. People in the region have strong ethnic and familial ties and they're related to each other. And that is why they want that this FMR should continue. And that basically, if not, then what happens? There is a lot of insurgency that rises in the northeastern region. Local trade and business, it was supposed to provide impetus to local trade because we realize that certain products, because tribals are the ones who have a close relationship with the land as well as the forest. So they perceive it from the perspective that certain products that are grown in locally by the tribes in the Myanmar region can be brought to 16 kilometers inside the Indian border, and these tribes in the Indian region can buy them. On the other hand, Indian tribes can go to their region, they can sell their products. So the tribal economy or the primitive economy can continue. This was again one of the benefits of the for FMR. Boosting regionalism ties. FMR is a part of India's Act East policy, so it is one of the diplomatic angles where relationship between the two countries can be boosted. That is also one of the important dimensions. Why FMR being scrapped? Why FMR is being scrapped? Why it is being said that it needs to be scrapped and completely removed? There are reasons. See, illegal migration. FMR has been blamed for facilitating migration that is illegal from the Myanmar side, and that is creating a lot of chaos and crisis in the northeastern region. Illegal migration of the 𝐂𝐇𝐀 people into India from Myanmar is one of the key issues that is currently going on in Manipur. Drug trafficking and terrorism, we realize that concerns existing with respect to the porous boundary where countries like Pakistan and China are basically also aid in transferring, let us say, drugs from those Myanmar regions because of the porous borders that are present there. So, data from the Myanmar Chief Minister office shows that 500 cases have been registered and 625 individuals have been arrested under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act in Manipur 2022. Security concerns, you already know that there is a lot of problems that are rising right now in the northeastern region. You'll be seeing that several insurgent groups like the United Nations Liberation Front, People's Liberation Army, United Liberation Front of Assam, ULFA, National Socialist Council of Nagaland, and small groups like Kukis, Zomis have built camps in the Sangang division and Chin state in Myanmar. Now, this what basically leads to, they know that uh, the army cannot infiltrate in the Myanmar region, so they've built their camps over there during the time of insurgent movements. They come to India and then create havoc over here. So this is being misused. The FMR regime is being basically misused by these tribals because it is creating security concerns in India. So that is again what is the problematic situation. Position to scrapping. Mizoram and Nagaland argue that FMR preserve the vital ethnic and economic ties. They view fencing on the border as unacceptable due to the colonial origin dividing the community. So they said the indigenous communities of Mizoram and Nagaland say we do not want the FMR being scrapped. They do not want the border fencing because they have close relationship or ethnic relationships with respect to the people in Myanmar and they want a balance. So this is all we need to know and understand, right? Let's move ahead. Australia's online safety amendment, topic 4. Please understand that this is again from the official website of the Parliament of Australia, Online Safety Amendment Social Media Minimum Age Bill 2024. What it does is that it imposes or gives an age restriction. This is from their website only, age restriction with respect to who can use a social media. Now see, what are the key points? The only Online Safety Amendment Social Media Bill 2024 introduces an obligation on certain social media platforms to take reasonable steps to prevent children under the age of 16 from having an account. So that it imposes a restriction that below 16 years, they cannot have an account. It is a responsibility of the e-safety commissioner. E-safety commissioner, again an office is there of an e-safety commissioner to write guidelines on reasonable steps to be taken in order to prevent the children who are, let us say, under the age of 16 from having a social media account. Details of what may be included in these guidelines, as such as what age estimation or age verification technology may be used, was not included in the bill. It's basically from the perspective of what the e-safety commissioner recommends to the social media platforms. Based on the discussion, those guidelines will basically come up. The obligation of certain social media platforms to restrict age account holders will not commence for at least 12 months within the date set by the minister. So that means when it is implemented, after 12 months after that, this thing will begin. Research, including by the e-safety commissioner, suggests that there are both benefits and risks to the social media use of children, and that the benefits and risks are individualized. The bill has bipartisan support. However, some experts and researchers in the relevant field have encouraged the government to pursue the alternative action. So please understand that currently it is under discussion. Major dimension over here is with respect to the restriction being imposed, e-safety commissioner officer being there, who will be basically giving what are the guidelines that the social media uh, platforms need to adopt. Again, there are no such guidelines being present over here. It will be based on the discussion by the social media platforms and the e-commissioner that they are going to come up with. Next, that has been stated is that once this is, let us say, implemented, it will be the social media platforms will be given 12 months in order to have those technology to verify the people who are less than 16 years of age and preventing them from having an account. So this is what are the provisions with respect to the Australia. Now, challenges and concern. Please understand implementation hurdle. The need for effective age verification mechanism raises the privacy and feasibility issue. That means you will have to take the data from the person or the children who are using it. Now, again, that will raise a privacy concern. Why shall the person be giving his personal details? Because verification will involve you are giving some authenticated ID of yours. And that is again will raise a problem with respect to concern. Unintended risk. Critics warn of children seeking alternative and less secure platforms. So what will happen in order to prevent this bypass this, what will happen is children will see that can we use some other platform, and the other platform which might be less secure with respect to their data being stored, or let us say whatever privacy concerns being there. So right now if we see Amazon, Flipkart as e-commerce sites, or Facebook, Instagram and all, because they are popular, now they have the onus also to maintain minimum level of standards with respect to privacy also. But there are various platforms which do not, because they are not so popular but used by people who want to interact. Now that results in basically more possibility of your data being misused. So children might shift there, because they're again children, they might not know the benefits, when they might not be know the loopholes that are there. So that is why unintended risk will rise. International relations, the ban adds tension in Australia's complex relationship with US-based tech giants, because again, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all these are basically what US-based companies like Meta owns them. So what will happen is that there will be again trade-related problems that will rise. France and US, let us say what are the other global initiative, requires parental consent for minors to access but do not impose any outright bans. Florida faces legal challenge for over similar ban targeting children under 14, citing free speech concerns. So we see that there have been certain initiatives with respect to age in certain countries, but they have not been implemented well, because there are a lot of issues with respect to free speech. Now, people are going to file case in their courts also that this is restricting a right to life also. Now, with respect to India, we realize that there is no such restriction, uh, and that is why again it creates certain problems also, that people at very young age are focusing simply on the social media. Again, people are using it for their benefits also, but there are many who basically uh, tend to spend a lot of time, which basically leads to those progressive or productive hours being wasted. You need to balance it, what is more important in today's time. That is why Indian government is again follows a balanced approach. Let's move ahead. Main questions of the day. Now please understand, you can write this question. What is FMR? Is does or what are the challenges that India faces FMR. 15 marker. You can just try this. It is important. Next, prelims topics. Uh, Gulf Cooperation Council. The Gulf Cooperation Council, please understand, this was in the news also, so we are using it. So these are the members also present here. It is a regional and intergovernmental political economic union established on 25th May 1981 with the formal signing of the Charter of the GCC. Member state, it comprises the 6 national monarchies of the Gulf region, that is Kingdom of Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. Headquarters is in Riyadh, capital of Saudi Arabia. Military arm, the Peninsular Shield Force is a military arm of the GCC. Objective is to effectively coordinate integration and the interconnection between the members to achieve not only with respect to security, also in economic as well as the regional development and growth of the region. Now, if we move ahead, we'll be realizing that the next topic that we have to see is PM to distribute 58 lakh property cards to provide record of the rights. Now, over here it is mentioned Svamitva scheme. Now, we should see what is Svamitva scheme. Let's see. Now, please see the survey of the villages and the mapping with improvised technology in village area is a full form of Svamitva. Again, see survey of villages and mapping with improvised technology in village area is the full form. And that is why, because it is lengthy, that is why the short form has been given in the form of Svamitva. It's a central government initiative aimed at providing an integrated property validation solution for the rural regions. So, what is there is whatever properties you have, they are validated and you have a record with respect to that, that you own that particular property in the village areas. It represents a pioneer effort in improving the use of cut-edge drone technology and benefits the millions of rural property owners across the country. Launched in April 24, 2020 with the National Panchayat Day. Now, please understand, in the urban areas, you still have the municipalities who are, let us say, more organized because of the technology and the facilities that are provided. At the panchayat level, there are a lot of loopholes are present. So over here, under the scheme that is implemented by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj also, over here, drones are basically being used and surveys being carried out of the villages and the rural areas where proper demarcation of the property and your rights are basically demarcated, what your property you own. So this is again a very positive way, because that is what is the land record that you need to have and maintain, that is government is using technology for that. So a very positive step ahead. Full form, again, survey of villages mapping with the improvised technology in village areas. Collaborative effort. The scheme involves collaboration between the revenue department, land record department and the state panchayati raj with the oversight by the noble ministry. Primary objective, the core objective is scheme is to have a comprehensive property validation solution, because validation who owns what properties becomes very, very important. Property cards. So Mitra property cards will be issued to landowners by the government authorities under this initiative. So once the validation is done, you own this property, a card will be given to you. That means you are the legitimate owner of the property. The scheme utilizes advanced technology such as drone surveying and continuously operating reference station codes. So that means, simple words, technology over here, drone is being used as a means to survey and maintain or get the record and data. Financial benefits, property ownership in these areas can be used as a collateral for the loans. Now, please understand, because a lot of property disputes arises in the rural regions because you do not know where your land ends and where the land of the other begins. A lot of disputes arises. So once this is implemented, it basically leads to lesser number of disputes and you can get a collateral also, because a verification is done that you own that particular land. Key points: implementation bit, mapping uses drone uh, in the villages and over an area for a 4-year period from 2020 to 24. So have a very comprehensive observation and along with it mapping of your regions. Initial implementation, currently the scheme is being applicable in 6 states: Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. So please remember, it is not implemented in all the parts of the country, only initially in these 6 states. Later on, it will be expanded to the other regions. Funding, central government has allocated 79.65 crores for the pilot phase of the project. Svamitva card, we have already seen that whoever is the owner of the land will, and whose verification is done, you will get a card that you are the owner of this particular land in the rural region. Objectives, financial stability, because you know that you are the owner of the land, that gives you security that you are the one who owns it rather than disputes arising over there. Because once a dispute arises, If you go for loan as a collateral with respect to the property, you will not get, because there are various other people who are contending that they own it. Once you have the Sumitra card also, you will be realizing that it can be used as a means for a collateral to loan. Financial stability, accurate land record is there. Property tax determination becomes easy. Government use to support the various governments with proper survey and infrastructure. Gram Panchayat development, resolution of disputes, because once it is done by the technology and you get a record of that, that means automatically the disputes end over there. The Svamitva scheme aims to cover all villages within a 5 period from 2020 to 2025. It is being delayed because of the COVID that came there, right? So the pilot phase, we realize that implementation is being done in the 6 states. Later on, it will be carried out to the other states also. Let's move ahead. Next is the multiple choice questions. First question 1 with options. Then the answer. Question 2 with options. Answer. Question 3 with options. Answer. Question 4 with options. Answer. Question 5 with options. Answer. This was the analysis of the Hindu from today's newspaper. Hope you liked it and enjoyed it. We'll be meeting tomorrow and continuing with the lecture. Take care and Jai Hind.